So just give yourself a few moments to just to sit and to just sort of get a chance to really appreciate this. It's a very simple thing. It's obviously something that we do a great deal, but we don't always think about it. And one of the things I think about Tai Chi is that it casts an interesting light on those are like everyday actions. It's a very practical art. It's very much based on our sort of standard movements, and structures and patterns of movement within the body, rather than something that is sort of requiring us to do something extra. So just thinking about how you're sitting, try and be a little bit forwards in the chair and to have some of your weight in your feet. Ideally about a third of your weight. If that's difficult for you to feel, it's quite subtle. If you raise your heels a little bit, you'll probably feel it a lot stronger in the balls of your feet. And then if you just lower your heels, that will obviously get a little bit less, but you may still be able to get a sense. You want to feel that your body is supported by your feet and by your hips on the chair. You've got that slight angle forward, but if you find that your back's beginning to ache, then sit back and rest your back. Rubbing your hands together. Tapping over your face. Over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder and your arm. On the other side. And the upper part of your chest. Light on your belly. And find your legs. Put your feet out, sit back in the reclining posture, and notice how you sort of shuffle around a little bit to find the right position. What you want to get is a feeling of sinking into the chair. And there's a strong relationship between that and our posture, our positioning. And a good posture will allow you to drop your weight and to get this feeling that variously called yielding, releasing, softening, letting go in these arts. And to get a sense for what that means, this little exercise that a lot of you have done with me before, just with your shoulders, chest and upper back, just sort of squeeze in a little bit, tighten up gently and then release. It shouldn't be a strong feeling, but as you release, that's the feeling that you're looking for, really as much as possible, all through your body. Try that a couple of times. And then more in the center of your body, so lower back and belly, hips and buttocks, thighs and knees, again, just tensing and releasing. I get a feeling of sort of flowing inwards and downwards. So this quality of releasing, the Chinese term is sung. It covers all that range of possibilities that I described, and things like relax and so on. Is the process by which we get to drop our weight, to lower our center of gravity, to root down. So once again, come to the upright position. It's a little bit more difficult in this posture, and this is where it's important to try and feel the support from your feet and your hips. You want the same kind of thing, and you can try again that little exercise, just tensing up. And really, if you tense up in the in that middle part of your body. You feel it all the way through your body. And as you release, the sense of the soft tissue of your body flowing inwards and downwards. In the standing position, when we do this, this gives us a much greater stability. The lower your center of gravity, better your root, the more stable you are. In the seated posture, that's less of an issue, obviously, because you've got the chair there. Although if you can feel that center dropping through the chair, then that's a very good start. But also, when we lower our center of gravity, when we allow our weight to drop, we take away some of the need for straining and tension in the upper part of the body. And then just begin to slowly turn your head. When we get that releasing feeling, to the extent that we do, one of the qualities I feel that comes out is this feeling of space within the body, space for movement, whether that be a large external movement like the one that we're doing, or very subtle changes in the flow of the movement, the energy within our body. And then hands in front of the shoulders, moving around. So as you get more experience with that feeling of releasing, with this concept of sung, you'll find that you can begin to apply it while you're moving. And that way, you can start to feel a very gentle and subtle extension in the range of your movement and in the ease of your movement. One of the things we don't want to do is to create a situation in the body where different parts of the body are working against each other. The harmonious feeling developing. Going forwards. And this leads us to an awareness of that internal movement, the flow of the energy really all the way through our body. Hands down to your sides and just winding your arms around. In Chinese medicine, the flow of the energy is a key factor in our well-being in general. So a very important aim in Chinese medicine, generalization, of course, is to somehow restore that flow of energy. And you may, as we go through the different movements, just identify areas where it's feel a bit tight or blocked, stagnant, not wanting to move. And as we encounter those areas, that's one of the places we would look to apply this quality of sung releasing process. Winding your arms around. But again, that's very dependent on posture. So I can sit in the chair here and get a feeling releasing in my back. When I was leaning over, by releasing my back, I'm just going to pull out the chair. So there are limits to what we can do with that. Go back the other way. And then rest. Now, looking forwards, feeling your weight going into your legs a little bit more. And then use your legs, pushing your feet into the ground to push your shoulders back. Again. This time, from the upright position, turn slightly, so now you take more of your weight towards one leg. And again, what we're looking for is a flowing movement, our weight being more back in our hips and buttocks, and then going forwards, weight filling up the leg. Again, this is an action that, as we get to know it better in the seated exercises, will have an impact on our standing movements. Turn the other way. The whole time just trying to maintain that presence of awareness, observing the movement, and more than just observing, but being able to use your own intention. These are intentional movements, which obviously comes a little bit easier when you're a bit more experienced in the exercises. Now just rolling the pelvis around, rolling around in the chair, and that moves your shoulders, your head. Go back in the other direction. Come back. Majority of your weight back in your hips. Push your heel of one foot up and step out. Plant the foot down. Try and get your whole foot down on the floor. So measure your step carefully. You don't want to strain in your knee. And then on the other side. And come back. Once again, finding a comfortable position in the chair. 2/3 of your weight back in your hips. Feeling the support from your feet and your hips. Your hands drop down to your sides. And the hands palm forwards. Begin by just once again tilting forwards, and as you do, rotating your arms. It's the third fold just way. Going back, just feeling that very subtle expansion, opening feeling in your chest, which then contracts, and that helps to rotate your arms. Perhaps even more subtle, same expansion and contraction, but the other way around. Your upper back between the shoulder blades. The side, you see my arms hang straight down from my shoulders at the moment. But for the next movement, in the forward position, as you go back, your arms are now pulled back. So it's like somebody's holding on to them, then they swing through. You go forwards and swing through. And there's a very wide range in images that we use in Tai Chi that we imagine we're moving in water, as though the air around us were perhaps a little thicker than normal. And if you're in water doing this, when you tilt it forward, your arms would lag behind a little bit. You have to get a sense of them being pulled through, likewise going back. And the movement begins with the transfer of your weight, and along with that, the tilting in your pelvis. The fisherman cast a net. This time from here, rather than letting your hands swing back, maintain this angle between the side and your arm. So your arms are drawn up, then your elbows drop, and then you lower down, and then go forwards again. Imagine rolling a ball in towards your chest, drawing it in. So don't have the idea that you're lifting your arms, it's more of a pull on your arms. One more time. And then pigeon spreads its wings. This time as you go back, drawing your elbows apart, opening your chest and forwards. So here the chest expands. And here, similar expansion in your upper back across your shoulder blades. When you go back, I get to here, notice that my hands are still in front of my shoulders. I haven't gone right back there, which would have the opposite effect on the chest of pulling on the pectoral muscle. Good if you want to stretch the pectoral muscle. That's not what we're trying to do. It's getting that very steady rhythm, that flow, movement, really coming up from the ground, flowing into the chest, and then draining away. So through our breathing, no particular breathing pattern, but just because we're breathing, and through this connection to the ground that we use to move the body, we start to get a sense of a fresher energy coming into the body, and then the stagnant energy draining away. One way of describing this rhythm is that we fill up, and then we empty, and then we fill up, and then we empty. Rejuvenating quality. One more time. This time, similar, coming back, elbows going out, but this time keep your hands in front of your hips. A slightly more compact, slightly stronger feeling movement. Just pushing wave. One more time. As you come back this time, let your hands come down to your hip, but stay in front. Elbows also stay in front. Roll your fingers into a loose fist. As you go forward, this time the hands stay at the same height. Your arms just rotate back. And then back. Weight goes forwards. It's almost like your shoulders are pushing your arm forward. Your arm just extends a little bit without rocking your elbow. It's a good exercise for your shoulders with that rotation. But again, try not to grip tightly. Imagine there should be a space within your fingers. One more. Now, open your fingers. Turn your hands palm out. Winding your arms out. They drop down slightly and come in front of your belly. And then again, pressing forward, that slight curve up. One more time. And forwards. Knees back. When your hands come back in front of your belly this time, turn them palm down. Turn a little bit, ease forward, gently lengthening through your back and then through your arms and through your fingers. Turn and come back to the starting position. Try the same thing the other way around. Turn in, tilting your pelvis forwards, lengthening through back and arms around. So drawing your arms around in a smooth circle. It's called polishing the table. One more in each direction. And then just resting for a moment. And while you're doing that again, just check your posture, a third of your weight in your feet. And we get that by tilting the pelvis forward a little bit. So you're not, strictly speaking, upright. You're still more upright than in other postures, but your head's come forwards slightly because your pelvis has dropped forwards. This gives you a better feeling of support from feet and hips. If you're just back here, it would all be on the hips and you'd have this feeling that you were slightly falling back. Nice and relaxing your breathing. Now, rather than alternating the movement from feet to hips and hips to feet, you're going to just do a very gentle push down through feet and hips together. Feel that sense of a movement, energy rising up through your body, and then as you release, draining down again. So it's almost like you're going to stand up and you're going to push down through your feet and your hips, but instead it's just enough to create this sensation of movement, this rhythm of expansion and contraction. from your hips right up into your shoulders and so on. And then bring your hands around as though they're cradling the ball. And this time when you feel that sense of expansion up, just like a wave coming up underneath your arms and then pressing down. So one of the things to notice here is that in order to raise your arms without straining in your back or your shoulders or your arms, there's always an advantage in thinking about how the movement starts. And it starts with the opposite movement. Push downwards through feet and hips. This is useful to overcome an instinct to strain, simply to lift our arms. It's the movement of the whole body. It also means that the first thing that we do, and this is really true for all of the movements, the first thing that we try to do is to get a downward movement, to root down a little bit more strongly before we try and move our arms, and certainly before we try and extend our arms. So this time, turning the hands out into the wild goose with this image of the bird in flight. So what moves your arms up is that gentle downward push through feet and hips, and the subsequent feeling of expansion upwards and outwards through your upper body. Now, tilting forward, let your hands cross in front of the knees. Sit back into your hips and push up. And then easing forward again. Always feeling that you could have moved a little bit further, and that helps us to maintain that sense of space within our body. So we can begin to feel those patterns of movement that you can't see from the outside, but are certainly happening in your body. We'll do one more of these. And to really reinforce that awareness of internal movement, bringing your hands around again, and cradling the ball, push down through feet and hips, expanding and contract. And then going to the wild goose, just one of each of these movements. And then parting the clouds. So when we string movements together like this, we can get an even stronger sense of that movement, the patterns of movement within the body. And that's an awareness that you want to stay with you. Try not to sort of like make it a set system. It can vary, but it's training your attention to be aware of these subtle patterns. Make this the last time. Now, with that, carrying that awareness with you, let your hands drop down with the weight of your arms hanging from your shoulders. And with the next feeling of upwards expansion, let that push one arm up to the top of the movement, winding around like you're plucking an apple off a tree and pull down. Other side. As dragon plucks the stars from the sky. Take your time when you change over from one side to another. Once more. Back to using both hands together. So bring your hands around as though you're cradling the ball, and again push up, but this time let your hands move up a little bit further, lengthening through your back and spine and down. Hand staying once again in front of your shoulders as you do this. Again, but this time pushing out, again expanding and pushing up again. You can feel those patterns of movement in your back. Just feel how these two stages create a contrast there. And then next time you push out sideways, turn a little bit in your hips and waist. Feel how that redirects your arms. And then that. And in the other direction. And that. And then facing forwards and push out sideways. Pushing up. So bringing your hands to your center. Turning. Change the direction that your arms are pushing out from. Turn in the other direction, your arms go the opposite way. And then when you don't turn, stay facing forwards. Your arms go outside. So we learn that the center part of the body directs our arms for us. And of course, when we're moving our weight, going back to some of the earlier exercises, that too is a rotation in the center of the body. Try not to lose that feeling of movement in your back. So you don't want to twist your shoulders around. Do one more round of this. This time, as you push your hands out, you put one foot out, knees still a little bit bent, And as your hands come back in, you tilt forwards again. So rotating your center of your body vertically, pushing your hands down, then feel your hips dropping back into the chair, drawing your shoulders up, open through your belly and your chest, expand through the belly and chest, and let that move your arms over. Scooping the sea, looking at the sky. A bit of a push from the other leg. So it's like a wave coming up. First of all, pushing your shoulders back, and then pushing your arms over. Again, we have a rhythm here. When you go forwards, you feel that extension through your back and your spine. And then when we come back, it's through the front of the body. Still with your leg out, drop your hands down, again, roll into a loose fist, go forwards, drawing your arms around, grasping the tiger's ears. Once again, the arms are slightly behind the shoulders, so as you go forwards here, there's an expansion in the chest that contracts, helping to bring your arms over. But also your shoulders are going forward, and your head is going upwards and forwards. Good. Now, come back, bring that foot in, push your other foot out. Same two exercises on the other side. Be careful with your back here, scooping the sea, looking at the sky. One more time. After this one, change into grasping the tiger's ears. One more time. Come back and sit again for a moment. And once again, just thinking about the sitting posture. The technical side, certainly, you know, where your weight is and so on and so forth, but also for how it feels. Feeling that your body's supported by, once again, by your feet and your hips. The front of your body is supported by your back. And as you release some of the tightness, particularly in the upper part of your body, you get this feeling of releasing, flowing inwards, where the stronger feeling within your body, in and around the skeleton, supporting you from deep within. Then, once again, rubbing your hands together. tapping over your face. Over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder, your arm. And the other side. Upper part of your chest. Your belly. And your legs. And then pushing your heels up, the muscles of your legs working again, and circling around. And back the other way. Okay. And then standing. So if you want to have the chair near you, can be quite interesting to support yourself while you're playing with these ideas. I'm going to move mine out the way, otherwise I'll keep bumping into it. So we could be said to be working with three aspects of ourselves. Obviously, our bodies. Just get rid of that flash of light. There's a physical practice. We're working with our awareness and with our intention. So there's a focusing of our intention, and with that, a calming of our thoughts, but also an ability to use our intention more creatively, more precisely. And the movement itself, the flow, the energy, and all of these things, all three of those are working together. We're not trying to dominate the body with the mind, so this is not mind over matter. We're not purely concerned with energy flow, because the energy flow needs a vessel to work through, and that's our body, and that's the importance of posture and so on and so forth. And in the end, these three things should come together. We may choose particular areas to focus on at one time or another, but overall, we need to be able to bring all of them together. I think of a tripod with three legs, and all three legs are necessary for the tripod, and all three legs have to work well for the tripod to be effective. If one leg is broken, it's no longer a tripod. So our starting point in Tai Chi is inevitably our physical structure and our postures and the movement, and maintaining those structures in movement. That way we bring our attention into our body as well. And so we start to train the focus of our attention and how to use our intent when we do these movements. And that allows for the flow of energy through the body. So standing with the feet below your hips. And to begin with, just rocking your weight gently forwards and back. So the pivot point here is your ankle. You're not doing this, not bending at the hip. Imagine a line from shoulder to hip to ankle, staying reasonably straight as you do this. And if you go too far forwards or backwards, that's what's going to happen. You'll either stumble, or more likely you'll begin to stiffen up. So we moderate the movement so that when we do this, we don't feel that sudden gripping, tightening feeling. And further moderate until we can feel that we're coming more into line with the pull of gravity. So if I were to get this pole, in theory, in practice it's very difficult, but in theory, I could find a position for it where it would just stand without support. In practice, that is very difficult. But if I were to take this pole and, like with a tent, put guy ropes on it, then the guy ropes would also help to stabilize the pole. Think of your skeleton as being like the pole, and muscles and tendons and ligaments and other soft tissue in the body, being like the guy ropes or the skin of the tent. And again, these things all work together, bring us to a point where we can just stand and not have to fight against gravity, where gravity is actually helping us to remain upright by pulling our center of gravity straight down. And significantly, I come a bit closer, when we can get that feeling of release in our hips. Remember the exercise in the chair, we deliberately tightened up through the center of the body, from lower back to knees. And then when we released, we had this feeling of just softening. And see how my hips are going to come a little bit closer there. If you watch my hips, as I release, this happens. I'm exaggerating slightly. It's actually quite a small movement. And this is the start of the process of rooting down, dropping our center of gravity. And just when you feel that movement, go down a little bit further, be careful of your knees, and then feel yourself being pushed up. So once again, we have an overall pattern of expansion and contraction through the body. Bring your hands around as though you're cradling the ball, and once again, a little sequence of 3, rooting down, but expanding and contracting, and then the wild goose, expanding and contracting, and parting the clouds, expanding and contracting. And that's a very regular, steady rhythm in these movements. But again, just paying attention to the variations in those internal patterns of movement from one exercise to another. Each exercise has its own unique patterns, as well as sharing common ground with all the other exercises, of course. Mind, body, and energy working together to the benefit of all of those. One more round. Now, turn one foot out, step forwards, keep the width of your step. You can just see the background between my legs there. And not too long a step. And as we did in the chair, transferring the weight, but transferring from foot to foot there. Again, trying to maintain that upright position. Notice if you have a temptation to sort of lean forward with your hips, which is what we would do in standard walking. But this is not quite the same, although this is an element of standard walking that I think is often missed, the weight transfer and the feeling of being in line with the pull of gravity. We can be flexible, we can extend out from that line a little bit, but we should never break our connection with it. So these qualities of rooting down, of alignment, this awareness of rooting down and alignment, and the associated quality of stillness, of being settled in the mind, they're really all part of the same thing. We should see these as being like a mooring post that a boat is tied to in the sea. The boat will drift away from it, but at a certain point it will come back. If the rope breaks, then boat drifts away and ends up on the rocks or something like that. So although we don't necessarily always keep our route, certainly the mind gets distracted, the awareness that we build of this acts like the rope, and we suddenly realize that maybe we're leaning or something like that. And before it gets to be a problem, we're able to draw ourselves back to this quality that in Tai Chi we refer to in various names. I like the term central equilibrium. So we're trying to maintain central equilibrium and all the associated qualities while we're in movement. Now, sit back and just raise your toes a little bit in the front foot. Go forwards, push your back knee forward so your heel comes up. So gradually, more of your weight settling into each leg until you get to a point where you're able to just slowly bring one foot in, push the foot back, forwards and out, move the weight, bring the foot in. When you get to this position, just check your posture. If you started to lean over, obviously you're going to feel a bit wobbly. But getting used to that feeling of central equilibrium and all that's involved in that means that you have a sense of where the mooring post is. And when you know where it is, we develop the intention to always come back to it. And try on the other side. So transferring your weight into as your heel and your toes, looking to maintain alignment and root over the supporting leg. Stepping in. And then take a few steps forwards or backwards, depending on where you have the room. Take your time. Very aware of the mooring post, of central equilibrium. As something that you may not be able to stick rigidly to. You don't want to tighten up just to maintain that. And then coming back. There's a very strong intention to maintain that. And as we get more used to the feeling of it, so our ability to match that intention with a physical response increases. Now have your right foot forwards. Start with the weight in your back leg going forwards, then your arms swing through the standing version of fisherman castanet. Do a few of these straight forwards and backwards. Then we can vary that as you go back, turning to your left, sweeping your hands across your body. They curve down, and this time swinging up a little bit, no higher than your shoulders. As you go forwards, they drop down, coming across your front hip. Turn out a little bit to swing the arms out, making a sort of rounded X shape, or think of it as a sideways figure of eight. Or again, another alternative like the infinity sign we find used in mathematics and physics. Whatever image suits you. Good. And then shake out. On the other side, fisherman cast the net. Do a couple forwards and backwards. So then if we turn in the center of the body, it changes the direction of the movement of the arms. And then as we come back with it, the arms spring expanding in that side of your body. Push the arms up. Come forwards, turning, expanding in the left side of your body. Push the arms up. Stay soft in your shoulders. So try not to strain to get the movement of your arms. Just again, feeling those patterns of movement within your body. And if you turn your front foot out this time, go forwards and combine this with the stepping. So as your hands get pushed up, you step through, plant the foot forwards or backwards, and notice that with the first couple, I'm keeping my foot down, but thereafter, what I may decide to do, you don't have to do this, is to raise the arm. Raise the, as the hands come up, your knee coming up. And then changing direction. Take your time. And then this time, just bringing your feet out. Good. Go back to your chair. The central equilibrium, and all that's implied in that, is the um, is, is the sort of structure, I suppose you could say, the feeling that allows for that flow of energy through, through the body, which we can then begin to shape a little bit with our intention. So we want to always be aware of central equilibrium. And one image for those qualities is the mountain. And this last exercise is called Embrace Tiger, Return to the Mountain. So just let your hands drop down and push your arms up, and then bring them around as though they're going to hold a ball against your chest. Drawing your hands in, and this is the returning stage. This is the key stage. Releasing your shoulders, your back, your hips. Coming back to this quality of stillness in mind and body, and then starting over again. Nice and gently. Embrace Tiger, return to mountain. And this is a key process. Can we come back to this quality that feels more spacious, quieter, calmer, stronger, better supported? And then come to rest. and just open your eyes. Lovely. Thank you very much, everybody, as always.